This morning we're going to mention two very important halachot. I'm sorry it's late, but they're very, very important to mention. The first is that the din of isur melacha, the prohibition of doing melacha on Yom Kippur, contrary to popular belief, is not only like Yom Tov, it is like Shabbat. Now, although this year doesn't really make a difference because Yom Kippur falls out on Shabbat, but if Yom Kippur falls out on a Wednesday or any other day of the week, the laws of Yom Kippur are the same stringencies as Shabbat, meaning on Yom Tov you're allowed to move fire to fire, you're allowed to cook, you're allowed to carry without an eruv, and there's a couple more. Now, all of that for Yom Kippur, whether Yom Kippur is Shabbat or not, Yom Kippur has the stringencies of Shabbat and not of Yom Tov. That's number one. Number two, which is very important, is we need to know who is obligated in fasting this Yom Kippur. There's older people, there's sick people, there's children, there's women. We're going to go through all of them very, very quickly, Bezrat Hashem. So the prohibition of eating and drinking is even something which is not edible. Meaning if it's bitter, or if it's off, or sour, we're not allowed to eat or drink anything at all. Swallowing one's saliva is allowed. Now obviously don't muster up a nice ball of saliva to do, but again, while speaking and praying and just sitting around, swallowing the saliva in one's mouth is not considered drinking. There's no issue with that at all. Now, let's speak about children. Children under the age of 9 have absolutely no reason to fast at all, meaning even hours, meaning they don't need to do anything. From 9 and up, whether they are a boy or a girl, it is nice for them to do ta'anit sha'ot, meaning let them start the fast and see how long they go without obviously endangering them. From the age of 10, they are more encouraged to start fasting ta'anit sha'ot. Why? Because from the age 11, now this is a chidush, whether it's for boys or girls, from the age 11, the children are already supposed to try to fast. Now again, if they could, mitzvat chinuch. For a girl, it's obvious why. It's the year before her bat mitzvah. Next year she's going to be completely obligated. And for boys, since we obligated the girls, most poskim say the boys can also start from the age of 11. Now again, if the child's weak at the age of 11, or even a boy at the age of 12, they do as much as they can. But without exception, any boy or girl who is 12 for a girl and 13 for a boy needs to fast the fast in completion. If there are health complications, we're going to deal with that now. Talking about the person who is not well, chas v'shalom. We're talking about a life-threatening situation. Diabetes, heart conditions, those are the most common health issues when it comes to fasting complications. So, if a person is told by the doctor they are absolutely obligated to eat or drink, they are obligated to eat or drink. Now we have to determine how do they eat and drink. If the person feels, now I'm going to go further. Many people want to be stringent. Many people want to say, I'm not going to eat, I'm not going to drink. One has to first consult with their doctor to find out what the nitunim are, what are the facts. What does the medical field have to say with the condition, the medication that you're taking, and then go speak to your LOR, local Orthodox rabbi, in order to see what has to be done. So go get the facts first, and then come and speak to your rabbi. If the facts are that a person has to eat or drink, or eat and drink, then we have to determine, will you be strong enough if you have small amounts in elapsed times of period? And I'll explain what that means. If a person needs to eat, ideally what they're supposed to do is they're supposed to eat a small amount, and we're going to go through the amounts, and not in the amount of time it's meant to eat. So for food, one is supposed to eat no more than 30 grams of food, any type of food at all, and ideally wait anywhere between 7 to 9 minutes before eating it. So 30 grams is not a lot. For argument's sake, let's say a borekas, it's less than a full borekas, right? Yeah? How big is this gram? You don't know. So 30 grams, you have to wait. Again, it depends on the weight. So that's not a lot. If a person really needs to eat and they have, let's say, 2-3 bites of a burekas or 30 grams of food. What?
If you go past 30 grams.
Again, this is what you're supposed to do. It depends on how sick a person is. That's why before the holiday, ideally you should prepare, you should know, or you can have, like we do on Pesach, you can have a non-electric food measurer, weight, scale, and you're allowed to weigh it even on Yom Kippur. So then you're supposed to eat, if you could, that amount every 9 minutes. If that's too hard, every 7 minutes. If that's still too hard, even every 5 or 3, or up to even every 2 minutes. It depends on how sick a person is. Now, same thing with drinking. Drinking, a person's only supposed to have 40 milliliters. 40 milliliters is not that much. 40 milliliters of water, or if the person needs juice for the sugar or whatever the case is, again, it depends the situation, then they should have 40 milliliters, again, in that elapsed time, ideally every 9 or 7 minutes, or 5, or 3, or 2. Then, again, it depends on the health of the person. Now, something interesting is, while you're waiting for the drink, you're allowed to eat, and vice versa. Meaning, let's say if you've decided you're going to wait 5 minutes before eating and drinking. So at 12 o'clock, you're going to eat 30 grams of food. And then at 12:02 and 30 seconds, or 12:03, you can drink. And then 2-3 minutes later, you can eat again. So they don't coincide, meaning you're allowed to do both of them within the same amount of time. That's, again, for someone who feels they can withhold that type of eating habit on Yom Kippur. Now, one who cannot, again, based on medical evidence and being careful, they are allowed to eat and drink more than that. On the side, for healthy people, any type, even chewing gum is not allowed on Yom Kippur. Just I want to add that in. Okay, a pregnant woman or a nursing woman are both obligated completely to complete the fast in completion, unless they come into health complications based on the doctor, what the doctor is saying, and then they fall into what we just said before, that they should eat and drink with the small amounts elapsed times. I'll tell you offhand, I remember once, I think my wife was pregnant with my son, and she fainted on Yom Kippur, but she continued the whole fast.
After she fainted?
No, she didn't fall, but she fainted. She was sitting on the couch or whatever, and she passed out.
Continue after?
Yeah, look at how strong. Okay, a woman who gave birth, yoledet, a woman who gave birth within the past 3 days. So we're going to see how to calculate this, but within the past 3 days of Yom Kippur is not allowed to fast. She has to eat. It's completely not healthy for her if she doesn't eat. That's within 3 days. Do you count 3 days from at the moment she gave birth, or is it only like today, Thursday, Friday, Shabbat? So that's a machloket, and again, depends on the health of the woman. Now, from 3 days to 7 days, the choice is hers. She could choose to fast, she could choose to eat fully, or she could choose to eat, like the sick person, small amounts with elapsed time. The next individual we're going to speak about is a woman who had a C-section delivery. A C-section delivery should eat based on what the doctors say, like a regular birth. Or even worse, if it's harder. One, lo alenu, a woman who had a miscarriage. A woman, chas v'shalom, who had a miscarriage, as long as it's after the 40 days, the first 40 days of conception, then she has the same halachot as if she gave birth to a proper baby, lo alenu. Yoshevet al mashber, a woman who is in labor. A woman who is in labor right away, she is allowed to eat and drink without doing the time elapsements in the different times. She's allowed to fully eat or drink. Again, she has to really be in labor. She can't be at home the 12 hours before. What? She's allowed. She doesn't have to eat, but she's allowed to. Believe me, she'll eat or drink. She'll at least drink. At least she'll drink. Okay, now for individuals who do not have life-threatening situations, but they're taking medication, like many people. So, are you allowed to take that medication on Yom Kippur or not? If it's medication that the doctor says it is important that you take on a daily basis, you take it without any water or anything swallowing it. Again, that's it, if you can. If a person can't, and the doctor said it's not healthy or it could bring you into danger, if you have to take that medication, what you're supposed to do is you're ideally supposed to drink it down with a very small amount of something bitter. not alcohol, right? But something bitter, like tamtzit teh, like the how do you call it? Essence, tea essence. Tea essence, let's say if you made tea and then it's like cold, so now it's a little more bitter. That's ideally what a person should take down their medicine with. Again, you're different, Corey. You. Again, ideally it should be something bitter that they're taking it down with, so they're not enjoying from it. Now, if the pill has no taste, it's also easier. If it has some type of sweet taste, the pill, then ideally you should wrap it in something, again, that's not dangerous, and swallow it that way, or get something that does not have the taste. Okay, if a person needs to, two more halachot, if a person needs to eat on Yom Kippur, like if he's sick, small amount, whatever, there's no kiddush to be done. Even though it's Shabbat, there's no kiddush to be done. Netilat yadayim is done till your knuckles. If you're planning on eating less than a kazait, then you're not going to even make a bracha. And if you're planning on eating more, then you'll make a bracha if you're going to have it up to kibitzah. You don't need 2 breads, even though it's Shabbat, no matter when. And Birkat HaMazon this year we'll add in the Tzivach Halitzinu because it's Shabbat. And you're also going to add in Ya'aleh V'Yavo, and what you're going to add in is you're going to say B'yom HaKippurim Hazeh, B'yom Serichat Yavon Hazeh, and B'yom Mikra Kodesh Hazeh, because it's still a holiday. Well, B'yom HaShabbat we did the Tzivach Halitzinu. Now, if a person did not, if they forgot either or both of Ritzeh and Ya'aleh V'Yavo, if they ate and they do Birkat HaMazon, they should not go back. They should not go back and do their again. The point of me mentioning this halacha was not to loosen the importance and the lack of importance of fasting. However, we do have to clarify who needs to eat, who needs to fast, and again, those who need to eat or feel they need to eat, again, they should consult with their doctor and the rabbi, because it's not something that we can just take on by ourselves. Be'ezrat Hashem. Tonight, Mincha Arbit is going to be